I'll just stand.
Hi, you guys. Just give you a minute to find us. And tonight we're going to talk about whether or not you should be wrapping your horn and how to do it. So if you have had questions about why somebody would have a wrapped horn, then tonight is going to give you a good idea about why people might have their horns wrapped, and it might give you an idea about whether you should wrap your own horn, and also what to do it with and how to do it. So Jesse's actually going to wrap one here for us and show us how to do it. So hopefully you guys are finding us okay. Yep, looks like you are. Great. Okay, so for those of you who haven't been on with us before, my name is Lindsay, and this is my husband Jess, and we teach reiners. We coach reiners and some ranch riders, some cow horses, and we are based out of London, Ontario. We're here almost every Tuesday night answering questions that were sent in by you guys. You can find out more about what we are doing and how to work with us on our website, which is hayescofalperformancehorses.com. We also have a tack shop with professional grade equipment. It's all equipment that we use ourselves. You can find that on the same website or at reigningtackcanada.com. And if you are interested in bob saddles or custom saddles, you can find us on there as well. So it looks like you guys are finding us okay. So tonight the question was about why would you wrap your saddle horn and how should you do it? So can you tell us some of the reasons why somebody would wrap their saddle horn?
Protects the saddles. If we're roping or dragging anything, you'll run the rope across there and it'll burn that leather up. And good saddles are expensive. Take care of them. And you just want to take care of that investment. A little bit of rubber on that horn makes it a whole lot easier if you're ponying babies or you're dragging things or using your saddle a little bit. That rope will bind on that rubber a little bit, makes it easier if you're showing in the ranch trail. It's not, they don't use anything heavy, but it's still just easier to let the rubber do its job. Basically the biggest thing is to protect them.
So what are some of the things that you would be doing that would require your horn to be wrapped?
We always wrapped them when we were younger just because we would rope out of our saddles. And when you dally, you would burn them horns off real bad if you didn't wrap them, and then the rubber too, to make it harder. I use them more for, like around here, we just do a lot of, ponying babies and stuff like that. And I still like having that little bit. That rubber really bites some ropes and allows you not to have to hold so hard when something needs pulling kind of hard.
Okay, and then what would you use to wrap a horn with?
You can buy rubber bands. The Dutchman comes out just a little bit. I go to the place that repairs tires, and they'll always give me old inner tubes that just have they've had a hole in them, and then I'll just cut the inner tube. So there's a big ring. I'll show you in a minute. But I just use old inner tubes. They're free. You just got to cut them with the scissors, and you're good to go. Other things you can wrap them with aren't really our cup of tea, and the show horses and the whatnot. I mean, you can do mule tape, you can do leather, depending on what part of the country you're at. The mule tape kind of out in the ranching states and stuff. But we do rubber because when we're showing, we want it to bind a little bit and grab hold of them ropes.
And what things would you not use to wrap your horn?
I've seen people use tape, but that was the most ridiculous one. What a mess that would make trying to get off. That's the only crazy thing. Most people, when they wrap their horn, because it's going over their investment, they take pretty good care of it. But I remember the tape one time was it was duct tape, and it was a disgusting mess.
Oh my gosh, can't imagine like these beautiful brand new saddles getting duct tape around them.
That was an old rope saddle I traded one time, and I just put the rubber right over top of it because it was the gookiest junk on there. But
Okay, and is there any reason why you would not? Did I ask you this already? Is there any reason why you would not want to wrap your horn?
I feel like the only people that wouldn't would be like the, Western pleasure people and stuff. Like it does make them it makes them look a little ranchy, a little, you got a rubber wrap on them.
But you can pop it off. You can pop it off.
You can pop it off. I mean, you just wouldn't put on a big, nice show saddle or nothing, but I don't know why you'd pony colts in a show saddle.
No, probably not.
I've done dumber, but
I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to leave that one alone. Okay, so should we show them how to do it? I see some people are saying skijoring.
that would be pulling things.
That'd be
pulling
pulling
people
things.
is one thing.
Yeah, Danny's
We used to do it when we were kids.
recommending for saddles.
We'd pull toboggans and stuff with our horses with people in them. Kind of same as.
Hi, Missy. Hi, Joanne. Okay. All right, let's show them how to do it. Let's get our camera crew. Just kidding. That's me. All right.
See
Kind of
that?
in the dark. There we go.
So there's the inner tube. Once I've cut them up, I just do it, about an inch or an inch and a bit. The inner tube coming around, I just cut it down in slices. So you get a neat little ring of rubber. The biggest thing when you do this, I find it easier just to do it when I'm sitting on the saddle.
It's just a little bit dark. Can you just turn so you're not in the shadow of the...
Which way?
Just turn it that way a little bit. I think that's better.
So I do it when I'm on the saddle, but for this, I guess I won't. So it's a little easier. The only thing you want to do, I always kind of move the rubber around a little bit. I put it on, and then I twist it once. And when you put these on, the biggest thing is put them on super tight. You're gonna have to work at it, and you will pinch your fingers every once in a while, and it is what it is. But every time I go around, I just always twist it once. And I just keep doing that up the horn. And I try to find a different spot to twist it every time. And as I go up it, you get close to that heel horn cap. Yeah, this is why I get on. And your last couple.
You're struggling?
Well, you end up popping your fingers in there. So you get your first wrap on, and I'll just do even that one wrap on a lot of my work saddles. Obviously it's a cow horse horn, a little taller. I still pony some babies in this. I'm not going to rope out of that horn, but that's enough to protect it so that when we're doing the ranch or we are ponying, we just come across once when we dally, and that rubber will hold it. So a lot of times, if you just wrap once in your dally, you can drag just about anything because it binds in that rubber. And then if you want a little more beef to that horn, you just put another one on, just the same way. And the only thing is you just have to always be twisting it as you come through. I guess one thing I like to do is I like to make sure I got a fair bit of that rubber right down in here, because that's where when I bring my dally across, I'm going to usually bring it real low and bring it across. So my second one, I go quite low on it, and then I start from there and I work my way up. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That's all it is to it, but it really saves saddles if you're using them for different things. I like the feel of them. Like even on my work saddles, I like the feel of them if I'm working cows and stuff. Not even roping, just working cows, to grab hold of it. I just find it's a nice feel to them. You know, a little texture there to grab hold of.
Cool. I don't see any questions coming up here. Looks like that maybe is making sense to everybody.
I think the biggest thing when they do them, even if they're doing, like when we show the ranch trail, we don't pull anything heavy, but it doesn't take too long to get them ropes rubbing that leather, and you get little ridges in there. So do it before you try it.
Yeah, and then if you do rip the leather, do you want to just talk about what would happen if you rip the leather, like why we're trying to protect it?
The main reason, or the problem is, if you do wreck a horn, they are a lot of work to fix by the saddle makers because they have to take all the leather off of here to do it correctly. If it's a burnt horn, a lot of times it isn't even worth fixing. Then what you do is you put a leather wrap or like a muleskin wrap on it and just cover it up, because they have to take all this leather off up here. This folds back and then they take all this off to get the horn on. So it's just way easier to wrap one before and fix it before you ever start.
Cool. Is that a question there? Do the manufacturers ever make the saddle with that extra layer of protection?
No, even when you buy the rope, like a rope saddle, which I don't know anybody that would rope without one. Even the rope saddles, when you buy them brand new, you have to wrap them yourself. Mostly because you want to see the saddle you buy, especially if you buy used. If you buy a used rope saddle, I always advise everybody cut the old stuff off and see what you got underneath. I have some old saddles that I've used pretty hard over the years that, you know, there's not much left to them. And I'll put a horn wrap on because the leather's all coming off of a horn. Actually, I have one here that it hasn't had leather on it for years. It's an old McClellan's that I've likely had for, 15 years. It hasn't had horn on the candle. It hasn't had horn on the horn. It's just the steel post. And I put the rubber wrap on it and I rope out of it all the time. And so when you buy if you buy a rope saddle, you want to see what kind of it's made. And I think a horn is a big one. You can really tell if it's a good made saddle or not. There's just something about when they wrap them horns, build the horns right off the bat. A cheap one, you can give it away real quick with how that's wrapped. So if you're buying a used one, cut the horn wrap off right away so you see what's left, you know, what's there. If it's beat up, make sure they're not trying to hide something.
That was a good question. Is there anything else in here? Can we wrap my saddle when it comes in? Ooh, totally can.
Yeah, they don't take long. And
you know what? I really would love to show anybody who doesn't know how the horn is wrapped is just how one is wrapped. Like, go a little bit closer. Do you want to grab a different one, or do you want to take that off?
Nope.
No, just grab a different one. Just need to get it in the light. Oh, okay.
So here's a saddle.
Just don't stand right in the light so that I can. Whoop.
This one here, what did we say it was?
97. This one's really hard to see, actually.
Because they're well made, they are hard to see it. Where that wrap comes in, like when they build the.
That way so that the light is shining on the wrapped part. Yeah. There we go.
When they build those, the leather's wrapped through and then pulled in under all and through here. And those horns on a good saddle will last forever. I mean, that thing's still tight. And this saddle's been used a fair bit. I mean, the tune's pretty much worn off. But it has lasted forever. Now, I don't use this one to pony in or nothing. But it has definitely survived time, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you can see with how that horn is wrapped in underneath the leather on the pommel, like how that horn is all wrapped in there, and this is layered over the top, how all of this has to come off to rewrap that. All of that lacing that's on the back there, all of that would have to come off.
Protect them before you wreck them, that's for sure.
That seat's looking pretty tough, isn't it?
They're not new.
Rose says, great answer. Oh, good information. Good. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, we get that question a lot, especially now with the ranch
About
trail coming in, and
wrapping it.
yeah, and just how to protect them when they're, like I know last year at the ranch trail clinic we had here, that was definitely a concern. You know,
Another question.
I can't read it.
You having trouble? Is there a maximum amount of weight that the horn on a reining saddle can drag without damaging it?
Every horn's different, how they're tied in. Every saddle maker's different. You know, if you got a cheap saddle, you know, I've seen some of those not last with anything. I've roped cattle out of like reining saddles. They're just not built the same way a roping saddle is. I mean, I have an old rope saddle here. My dad bought it when I was a kid, and the horn is just built stronger. There's not a set pounds per square inch, you know, or whatever you're gonna say to it. You know, I mean, I don't worry about roping like 600-700 pound steers and pulling them around. It's if you do a really hard jolt on them. We've had a couple get loose here, you know, that were maybe full-size adult cattle, and we roped out of the reining saddles, but they're not intended for it. You just have to take, you know, if you take it easy and they're soft on them, then they're fine. The reason the rope saddles are so stout going down into that horn is they're also taking, like if we arena rope, you jerk on stuff. It's instant, it's fast. And that's why the rope saddles have a bigger solid front end. They're tied in, they're a lot heavier. The reining saddles, like I say, I don't advise people to rope in them, but when we do the ranch trail, there's not a lot of, like, usually they drag like a little feeder that weighs about 30 pounds. They're not out to get big heavy things to drag. It's more just you're going to get that rope burn on the leather. So you're just trying to protect the rope burn. And kind of go from there. Actually, one of the saddles I rope in the most is not a old rope saddle at all. It was just an old cow horse saddle with a bit of a posty horn, and I liked it. But I also don't arena rope anymore, so all right. Just got to play it by ear. Good saddle will last, but take care of them.
All right. Thanks for being here with us tonight, you guys, and I hope that answered your questions. If you're watching the replay, or if you have more questions, you can go ahead and leave them for us, and we'll try to get back to you as best as we can. Have a good night.
Night.